Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Scaling Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Harper, and today we are interviewing Shaina Denny, founder of Dog Drop, a dog daycare franchisor.
Did I send one cold DM? No, I sent 50, 80,
Right,
100
right.
as well. And did I send a generic DM? No, I literally sat there for 10 hours reading everyone's profile. Okay, Orange Theory, how long was he there? Does he like other posts? What am I learning about this person?
Shaina and I met on a competition a couple of years ago where franchisors was a Shark Tank style competition, and we went neck and neck. Today we got talking about what makes a good franchisor, what you need to do to invest in your franchisees, how to grow a franchise brand, why she decided to use franchising as a distribution method, and what her different raising capital rounds looked like. This conversation is all about the next generation of franchisors, franchise professionals, and franchise suppliers, and what's to come. All right, so welcome. You're here in Nashville. This is really exciting. We met in 2023. We were going head to head in the Shark Tank competition for emerging brands. So a lot's changed. Now it's obviously the middle of 25, and we can kind of sit down and kind of do a then versus now, and just welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. That was in Philly, I believe.
That was in Philly. Yep, we were there. I think it was either the first or second Shark Tank I think it was the second Shark Tank competition, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it is the first, but
Was it the
I'm not
first?
sure.
Okay, yeah, it was either. Yeah, it might have been the first, and you and me were like, everyone else was like, I don't even know what they're doing with their brands, to be honest with you. Like, no offense to them or anything, but like you and I were like neck and neck and stuff. So
You came out on top, but I was runner up.
yeah. So and then we also have a lot of similar beliefs around franchising and kind of like building a brand and stuff like that. So why don't we just start with kind of your like, because you did something different. You did basically a VC funded kind of tech play that's utilizing and correct me if I'm wrong after I say this, because I might be utilizing franchising essentially as the distribution method for the model. So why don't you tell me like what was that VC fundraising process like, and then how did you get to franchising?
Yeah, well, I'm like, you must have read our deck because, well said. I'm going to use that one. So I think I'll kind of back up.
Sure.
My background's not in franchising. I think I never really thought of it much. But when I started Dog Drop, I knew there's no household name in dog daycare, right? There's boarding, there's walking, there's everything in between. A lot of those big businesses, they also have a daycare component, but they're not dog daycare all day. And that was really our opportunity. I was taking my dog to a place that actually is a decent size chain in California. I don't know if they have 20 to 30 units throughout California. And I honestly didn't even know the name of it. And I was taking my dog there for like a year and a half. I was like, the place on like PCH and Second, sort of thing. And that's how I was like, I'm going to build the biggest name in dog daycare. I don't want to do anything else when it boils down. And now that's our business. How are we going to do it? I also realized, and this was even 2019 when I was looking at this, I laugh. I was looking at a typical PE roll-up strategy. How do I roll up all these dog daycares and make the operations better, improve the customer experience, everything? And I started knocking on doors. I probably called, 60 to 80 dog daycares, kennels, boarding facilities. I was staying in California, but I was going up to Fresno, Riverside. Like, my search kept getting wider and wider, and no one wanted to sell. So that was even more interesting to me. I'm like, why don't these guys want to sell? But then what I realized when I got closer to maybe a potential acquisition, I was like, well, what am I buying? Right? Besides cash flow. And I was like, that's getting far away from what I want to build. I want to build the most convenient dog daycare. So we ended up working backwards of what we needed to do.
Got it. So, and then talk to me a little bit about like where the tech piece came in, because correct me if I'm wrong, I think you started with that once you figured out like, this is where I want to go. Is it like It
Yep.
was a tech-enabled model.
Yeah, so we build all the software ourselves. I think one thing, and then again, this is 2019, 2020, even 2021, we are Frankensteining everything together. There's no Mind Body or Boulevard or anything off the shelf that came completely close to what they have available from a vertical SaaS solution in the health and wellness space or anything in between. So that's why we wanted to build our own, because we said, hey, if we want to build the most convenient dog daycare, we want the member experience to be very, very high. We want the service delivery to be very high. How do you execute that? How do you make it consistent? And how do you scale it? Which is probably what we're going to spend some time talking about.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is monitoring through our tech stack. And so that's what we ended up building. And again, I have my thesis in, and there are other dog daycare software players. So over the last 36 months, things have changed when they've raised 20 million, 30 million plus dollars only to build dog daycare software. But I don't believe you can build $1 billion tech business in that industry. So exactly, we're creating our own supply through franchising.
Got it. So you decide dog daycare is the move. You call 60 to 80 locations. They're like, I'm not selling. Like, business is great. And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go down this path. And then, was it capital raise, then build the software? Was it, hey, this is what I want the software to look like, build the deck, go capital raise, and like what? Tell me about that process.
A couple things in between, but the quick part is started raising venture. I always laugh. That's the world I knew. I didn't even know about SBA loans. I didn't even know about any other kind of financing because I came from a early stage tech background as well. So that was the world I knew. So that's why I went down. Where I talk to people, they're like, should I raise venture? I'm like, what kind of business do you want to build? So I think that's one thought. That's a different conversation. That's not always the move for every business. Right. But what I did was I created a landing page and built like some super cool dog daycare membership, everything we wanted it to be. And I just created a wait list. We didn't even have a spot. I didn't even have, wasn't even building a space yet. And then I took that to a handful of venture funds and I said, I already put this landing page. All these people want to sign up for this type of business. These are dog parents, millennial, now Gen Z dog parents. I already put sort of pricing, value propositions that want this service. Now let's do it. And so now in today's world, like, you can't go asking for money, especially with AI. Like, anyone with no technical background needs to build something with some lead generation, with some proof that people are going to pay and put dollars before raising any money for something. And so I did that, a handful of years ago at a very elementary, Squarespace landing page.
Like before AI.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
And now I think the expectation is so much higher. I want a whole 1.0 software model too. But that's what we did. Raised some venture from folks. Science, they incubated Dog Vacay, which was acquired by Rover and then Blackstone and that whole, they did great there. They've done also strong consumer brands like Liquid Death, the Dollar Shave Club. So that was very important because as much as Dog Drop obviously is for dog parents, everyone knows someone with a dog. And so building a household name in dog daycare is our mission.
So what'd you do before, and what was your background in venture before that?
So I lived and worked in China for about 3.5 to 4 years.
I didn't know that. That's
cool. And
okay.
So right before starting Dog Drop, I had recently moved back to the U.S. and I worked with Xiaomi, so the largest consumer electronic company.
Okay.
And then they had a sub company called Xiaoyi, which was their imaging technology. So it's kind of like a startup within a very, very large business.
Okay.
And I worked with them in Shanghai, and I lived there for a few years. And then I moved up to Beijing, and I was working for a Chinese-based electric vehicle startup.
Wow.
Very cool. It was their first hire there.
That's cool.
And so much more of a hardware technical background. Didn't ever think I'd see myself in the pet or franchise space just because I never even thought about it.
Yeah.
Moved back to the U.S., literally got a dog the day I moved to the U.S. We met at LAX.
Yeah,
and
the dog and you.
The dog.
That's so
and
cool.
I delivered with my sister and a couple humans in between.
Yeah.
And I was super flexible with work. I was still working China hours, so I was free until 3 p.m. when China woke up, sort of thing. So I thought, I have all the time in the world. But I'm like, I just need to drop my dog off somewhere for 2 hours at a time.
Yeah.
Why is this such a pain point?
Okay, so you're doing that, you living in China, and what motivated you to become a founder? Like, where did you go from like, this is a great employee to like, I'm going to turn my life upside down to be a founder?
I always was doing little side gigs. I wouldn't say there were things as a founder when you're like a single solo business owner is
Sure.
very different than
Yeah.
building a company. And actually, that's really interesting because I moved to China because I was really interested in like selling things online and hardware and buying things off at this time, kind of like Alibaba. And this is the 2010s, like even like I don't even know if it's quite Alibaba at that time, and then reselling on eBay. So it's very like solo business ownership. And then when I joined the team at Xiaoyi, I was like, oh, I want to build something bigger, right?
Right,
Then
right.
yeah, I can make money doing this all day. That's that. How do I build something bigger? So I always sort of had that thought. And I always laugh. I tell people like I didn't go to a whiteboard like let me look at the TAM of all these businesses,
Sure,
and
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
sit in this. And I went to business school too. I went to business school in
Okay.
Shanghai,
Oh,
and
cool.
so we had all these activities and all these people like let's find a market that's really big, and how are we going to create the Uber of whatever, right?
Yeah,
That
it
was
was
sort
always
of
the
the
Uber of, or yeah,
like
yeah,
2014 at
yeah, yeah,
business
yeah.
school. Well, let's do the Uber of like literally anything we can think of.
Yeah,
The Uber of chairs. Like we got to do it. On-demand chairs need to be here now. It's like a two-sided marketplace.
the Uber of tables.
Uber of like mics, right? Someone
Yeah.
might need one now. And people were like, let's just force a peg, like force
Right.
anything.
Right, right, right.
And I was very anti that movement. And so even with Dog Drop, I wasn't trying to start something and I wanted to shove it down, shove it down, shove
Right,
it down.
right.
I'm like, I had a good thing going, right?
Right. Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a good career path. Life was good. Like I was on the up and ups. And I always laugh. It was like, I had a good thing going, then I had to start something.
Yeah.
And you know how that,
Oh, I know
that
exactly how it goes, yeah.
So I think it's always start something when you can't shove it down any further.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know if you know, but I had a similar path. I was working at a company. I don't know that I would necessarily call it venture because like the people that I raised from, they hadn't they weren't like official venture people, but it was like a pre-seed round that was like, hey, I've got this idea. I didn't even build a deck. I was like, there's a brand and I know I can add units across the country. And they were like, oh, you're proven because you've done this before.
For Rolling Suds?
For Rolling
Yeah,
Suds.
okay.
Yeah. So, but I was like, there's a brand. It's a cool business.
Yep.
I think I can get units on the road. I think I can get them open. I think I can get them profitable. But like, I need cash. And so I went to like people who had done this before, David Barr, Brad Fishman,
Yep.
and like, you know, been doing it for decades. And I raised smart money. But it was like, the advice I got at the time was like, raise the least amount of money that you need. Cause like once you get like proof of concept, you can always like do another raise. And then I invested my own capital alongside them. But I mean, it was effectively a pre-seed round.
Yeah, definitely.
More or less. And I'll
It's like
tell
call
you,
it what you want, put all these fancy things. It's a pre-seed.
it's
Yeah.
a pre-seed
Doesn't matter,
round.
yeah.
I picked a valuation. They balked at the valuation. I said, sorry, I'm investing at the valuation, so you can invest with me. Here's how much of the company I'm selling. So tell me about the process of raising. Like, what was it like for you? How did you determine how much you wanted to raise? Like, what was the valuation you determined? Give me as much as you're willing to share about the process.
Yeah, I talk to folks about this. I'm like, your first round should be the easiest. If it's like a, blue sky idea and people are excited, you don't have anything to prove yet, except I did mention, have some sort of like,
Sure.
1.0 or MVP or whatever you want to call it these days, too, with AI. Like that's easiest because it's off of a belief. It's off of the team, which is probably only the founder at this time. Maybe if you have co-founders, maybe someone's still working, but it's going to be the founder and this market. And do they believe in you as the founder to execute this, especially when it's a new model, right? You can say power washing's been around forever, right? Dog daycare has been around for 20 years, right? We're not the first ones to do it, but I'm going to say, here's how I think we're doing it differently. Let's say my thesis is completely wrong. People don't want to pay just for what they use. People want to pay more. Let's say I was wrong on that. People want to drive 15 minutes away to the freeway instead of downstairs from the apartment, which we do. Let's say I was wrong with that. People don't. So I was like, even if I'm wrong with these 3 points, I can just go to the traditional model and do this as well. So I think the first round for me was, I don't want to call it the easiest. I'd say like got also very lucky. You're still, pounding doors, sharing the idea, getting the right people on board. After that, it's hard because they're like, well, what have you done? over the last 12 to
Right.
18 months,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because in the beginning, everything, oh, here's what we're going to do, right? Like, oh, I found this real, like this power washing brand, but I'm going to, make it really cool. I'm going to make like a brand name out of it. I'm going to be the sophistication. I'm going to provide professionalism to it. I'm going to scale it, right? Okay, cool. I'm behind you, Aaron. You have the energy. I see the path. I've seen this done in other industries. I've done this, seen this done with window cleaning. I can see
Yep.
it. I can totally see it. And now in 18 months, they're like, well, did you do what you
Yeah.
said you
How
were
much
going to
value
do?
has been created
Yeah.
relative to my investment?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And how much value, but most of all, did you do what you said you were going to do?
Right.
Right? You probably told them, we're going to open 100 units within 24 months. I don't know what number you said.
Sure.
And so in 18 months, whatever, well, 1 month, every month along the way, they're going to say, did you hit that or did you come close? Because come that time, that was your word. So that process was, I think, a easier, more exciting time. And then what gets harder is every time is showing like every round we did what we said we were going to do. We did
Got
what
it.
we said we are going to do. Because now that's an execution. It's not just excitement over there.
So how many rounds have you done so far?
It's like, I can call them what you want, but we've raised probably 3 rounds.
Okay. 3 rounds.
Yeah. And so a lot of that's been investment into the software side.
Software. Yeah. That's where I figure a lot of it
Yeah.
would go, right? Because
And-
that's the tech is it's just from
And-
what I understand about tech, you're just like putting more
Yeah.
and more money into it.
I will
until
say
it's perfect.
also, it's funny though, because now if you build today is way less than if you built 2.5, 3 years ago.
Oh, right, because
as well.
there's so much AI that can
Yeah,
do a lot of it.
it's crazy.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you can build so much more efficiently now, where you look
Costs
at
less than you expected it to 3 years ago or whenever you launched.
yeah, or now is less. Where before we've spent more probably doing something that you
Yeah.
can do today. But I think that's how everything goes. Like technology prices go down, everything goes down over time.
Yeah.
So I think that's why, and we're lucky we have really good partners on board who we've been building this foundation, like go slow to go fast. And I think that's something in terms of scaling. We're like, could we grow faster? Yes. I think any founder is like, for sure. Yes. Like I want more, better, faster, stronger. But I think we're building something in a much longer term game. And I know like we have venture backers, but they're very patient as well. So
Yeah.
they don't expect the same returns overnight.
They have a long-term mindset,
Mm-hmm.
which is important, I think, for a founder. I mean, if you raise PE money at the beginning and they've got a fund and they're 3 years into their life cycle of
Yeah.
fund, they got to get a return on that capital before the fund ends. So I like that they have a long-term mindset. The same thing
Yeah.
that I was looking for as a founder as well.
So I think in terms of like units or everything there, are we out where we want to be? Like, yes, no, ups and downs in between. But
Yeah.
I think what we can say is like, we're building something very sustainable. And at the end of the day, that's for us what's important. Everyone has a different priority.
Yeah. So, and that's perfect. So, how many units do you have? Are there different models for the units? Because I know you have an apartment. Like,
Yep.
I don't know if that's all the models. I don't know if they're standalone or if it's in the apartment or condominium building. And like, yeah, how many units do you have? How many franchisees? How many are open? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, and so we've gone a little back and forth of how we see this too. So it's like a recap for anyone who doesn't know. Dog Drop, we are building the most convenient and flexible dog daycare. We put our smaller footprint, so around 2,200 square feet, primarily on the ground floor of multifamily properties.
Got it.
So you go across the U.S., Greystar, Related, Continuum, all of these in any major market has a ton of underutilized space. So we want to go to these big property developers and landlords and say, hey, did you know actually pet amenities, and they do know, is the number one requested amenity for tenant, resident attraction, and retention. And so then we can work with them on really good TI, so the tenant improvement allowance, so that the landlord subsidize a lot of our build out.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes,
Okay.
that is that is the most exciting part about the business actually.
Because they'll
for
pay
me.
for what percent of it?
A lot.
Wow, like 80
Yeah.
plus? 60
Yeah,
to 80-ish?
I would, probably somewhere. Yeah,
That's wild.
every deal is different,
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah, of course, yeah.
And it's by TI dollars, per square foot, everything, but we get really good deals.
Cool.
Some markets like have just been phenomenal. Others are less competitive.
Yep.
So we'll look into each market to see how the unit economics work.
Yep.
So that's how we're able to substantially decrease the initial investment. And I think that's something where I'm like, oh, could we go slower or faster here? But we're making sure these are 10-year leases.
Sure. Yeah.
We want to make sure that in 3 years you're not kicking yourself and like trying to pay rent every month, right? And that
Right.
you're like, hey, we got a really good deal and we're trying to, work on this on behalf of our franchisees.
Yep.
And so that's our primary model. It's a membership, and members could access any dog drop location. I think that value proposition only grows as the brand grows right now.
That's cool. So how do you get users? Is it? I guess it would predominantly just be the residents, right?
So you have a built-in membership base there.
Base,
So when we do our site selection, which is why I'm in Nashville,
Yep.
we are opening a dog drop in Nashville.
That's
we have some
awesome.
very exciting franchise owners.
Which location?
Well, we'll see today.
You're figuring it out.
Yeah,
But it
I
would
just-
probably be downtown-ish
Yep.
in that range. Yeah, yeah.
Looking in the downtown area. So I was working with those candidates the last, honestly, 6 months. So this was a long-term relationship. And they're like, hey, you're still early. We want to see how the brand grows. And we checking in, consistent calls. Really, it took 6 months to do this deal with them. They owned, I believe, a couple dozen Orange Theories.
Got it.
They were
Okay,
also Orange Theory area reps in California and I believe Ohio. And then their son, Alexander, who actually played Division I golf at Tennessee Tech.
Cool.
He's going to lead their efforts in Nashville.
That's great. So how many franchisees do you have? Which markets are
Yeah.
you filled in? Which one? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in LA, Denver, Fort Lauderdale. We're opening in about a month in Austin, Texas,
Nice.
and Anaheim.
Okay, cool.
And so we have franchisees in those locations as well. And then we have a handful of new markets. I'm like, which ones have I announced or not announced? But anyway, well, now I said we're doing Nashville. It's not
Cool.
announced, but probably will announce soon enough.
Okay.
And,
This will come out in like a month or
That's
later.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
we're not too.
Yeah.
I probably posted it anyway on
Yeah.
X. And well, I think I did. I was like, "Oh, site tours in Nashville."
Yeah,
and
I
that's
did
how
see
we.
that. I did
That's
see
how
that.
we
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
Nashville, Hoboken, and a couple other markets.
So like 11 franchisees, 9 to
About
9 to
six.
11. Oh, 6. Okay,
Yeah.
6. But then you're going to see these other sites. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So if they sign today, how long is it until they like open?
It'll take 10 to 12 months, and that's if everything goes
That's
right.
if everything goes well. So realistically, maybe 10 to 18 months,
Yep.
Depending on the
Yeah.
site that they're choosing.
Yep.
And then you guys select the site for them with relationships with property managers.
Of
and
course,
stuff like
the franchise owner has final
Yeah.
say, right?
Right,
It's
sure.
entirely, and we're excited. Like we work with these, national developers and our broker network, the real estate broker network, and everything there too. That we have great folks, but at the end of the day, it's like I always tell people, why am I franchising? For the local owner.
Sure.
I want someone who knows Nashville 100 times better than me. I was in Hoboken 2 weeks ago doing the site tours there too. So I'm still like, I know you've been on the road a lot.
yeah.
I'm doing site tours all the time with these folks as well for their first, second unit, whatever they need as well, to make sure. I've been out to Austin 3 times. Austin's been hard for us finding
find the right spot.
Yep. And it's not because they're not available. There's a ton of underutilized and vacant retail space. Those landlords have been difficult. And so each time I'm going out with our franchise owners and I'm like, I'm going to be here with you until we get a
Figure it out.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How big's your team?
Our corporate team's probably less than 8.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So we've actually been able to keep it small. We actually needed more people before, but going again from like business ownership, building a team and structure, things are getting just so much more efficient.
Yeah.
And building that foundation. I mean, so I have a co-founder too. She doesn't
Okay,
work in the
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so she doesn't work on the day-to-day of the business, but I always laugh. I'm like, she built our brand. She's the operation. She built that brand ops manual from the ground up. I remember when she was building that thing. She is like operations, like top notch, right?
Yeah, which is important for
Yeah.
someone like you or me. Like,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
handle it. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, if only we had GPT during this. Like, I remember like building that. She was, I don't know if it was 3 months, 6 months, and our organization is already like documentation as you go kind
Yeah.
of thing. So anytime we do something, document
Yeah.
it, document it. So we're already very process oriented. And now I'm like, man, if you had GPT now to build a system, you're just like, it's a total
It's
different.
crazy.
Yeah.
What have been some of your biggest learnings as a founder?
Oh, that's a good one. Depends on the month.
It depends on the month. So if you look holistically at when you launched, which was what year?
We opened the first location in 2020.
Okay, so you're coming up on roughly
Yeah.
probably 5, 6 years
Yep.
now. So just like zoom out. What are some of the things that you've like learned, whether it's about yourself, whether it's about the model, like just in general, what are some of the biggest learnings?
I think one thing was team, and for me, understanding the corporate team was I have had a better grasp. I hope I would say on that, and opening. I hadn't opened a retail location before.
Mm-hmm.
I have not worked in a retail location before. I did not work in a dog daycare before, and I think that was a huge learning curve for me. And so that was a lot, and we really were able to figure it out. But I think that's what we spent a lot of the first 36 months of building our corporate locations was understanding how to run these dog daycares, how to run them more efficiently. What do we need from a team building on the ground floor, our care team, our retail staff. And that was probably the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Still don't have it perfect, but I think we have a very repeatable model with, best efforts, best practices, best training, really high attraction and retention. We get great talent. I always say from like when we put the coming soon vinyls as well, like the brand looks like cool and fun and everything. It looks different. You're not like, oh, I'm working at a kennel.
Right. It's cool.
Yeah, we had this dry bar manager who lived in the neighborhood and he saw the signs and he applied, right?
Right.
And he had worked at dry bar for 3 or 5 years in West Hollywood. I'm like, it's not someone that was like maybe gonna apply for a kennel attendant.
Right, sure.
Right. And so I think there's a lot that in terms of lessons there that I've learned, and then other things in between.
What about yourself?
Myself, I know you've talked a lot, or I should say, I've just been following really the last 4 weeks, maybe your updates,
Yeah.
right? With your life, too. I'm always someone that and I don't know your background. I know you're training for an Ironman right now. My brother's done a couple
Has he?
Ironmans, and I have watched them. I went to Cabo, I went to Sacramento. I can't
Yeah.
complain. I'm like,
Yeah.
let's go to more locations. Let's do Hawaii.
That's my wife's favorite part of the
Yeah,
travel. Yeah,
you're
it's
like, where are we going?
Yeah, exactly.
So where are you going?
I think I'm gonna do Florida.
Oh.
I want to do. I think so I hired a coach, and the coach is like, if you can drive there, it makes a big difference
Yeah.
because as much of the Ironman is about like your physical fitness, it's also like your mental fitness. And if you got to get on a plane and pack your bike and then take your bike out and then put it back together and like all the stuff, it's a very different like mental process than just like driving there. And so there's one that's like 6.5 hours away in Florida in the fall of next year.
Okay.
There's also a Chattanooga one in the fall of next year. Very different terrain in terms of like
I go on the website a lot because
Yeah.
I look for my brother. I'm like, where should we go next? By like we, and he's like, now I'm having to pack his
Yeah.
bike and the thing. I know how technical the bike
and I'm
his,
not the technical guy. Like I
he
would
is
break it.
fortunately very good at
Oh,
that.
that's good.
I think to my point, I played lacrosse in college, right? And I understand and I treat my job, and I think as you, I get paid to do this. Like people are like, it's your company. I'm like, I have investors. This is literally my job.
Right.
And so I have to show up every day. It's not Shayna's company, Shayna's world. I'm
Right.
like, I am an employee at one who has ownership, a lot of ownership and a lot in there as well. But I treat it like, I don't say it as an employee with an employee mindset. I say it as like, I have people I need to report to, and I
Yeah.
need to be in my best like physical and mental state as
Yep.
well. And I think that's something I've prioritized, hopefully for the most part of the journey as well. From an athlete perspective, is like, you're not going to show up on the field and think you're doing well when you didn't train, right? And
right.
so from a sleep, diet, lifestyle perspective has always been a priority. And you see that slip really quickly if you don't stay on top of it.
Yeah, the first So the first like 10 months. So I launched Suds I took it to market February of 2023. And and as you know, I was doing all the sales, right? So from like 8 in the morning to like 6, like I was on the phone. At
Yeah.
6 I was on the phone with the people in
Yep.
California. At 8 in the morning I was on the phone with the people in the East Coast, and then basically in the morning and in the night after
I
I put
think
the
the
kids
other
to
way
bed. Oh,
with the time zone.
well, yeah, whatever. You
Whatever.
get the idea. Whatever the time zone is, yeah. So, and then I'd put the kids to bed, and then from 8 to 11 or 8 to 12, like I'd be running the business. I'd be
Hmm.
following up with like candidates, and we were, excuse me, yeah, like doing admin stuff or like hiring new people. And we were hiring a new person like every 13 days as we were scaling. Like it was wild. But it hits like October, and I'm like, wait, I'm like out of shape. I'm eating like not great. I don't look healthy. And I'm like, this is not like a sustainable way to grow a company. Like, personal, like, we were growing the right way in terms of hiring people and finding good franchisees. But like me in turn, like, and so I hired a personal trainer, and I was like, all right, how do I get like my physical and like mental fitness like as like stable? Because going into 24, so that was October of 23, going into 24, we were about to launch all these folks.
Hmm.
So we went from launching like
Yeah, it's a
2 to
marathon.
3 franchisees once every 7 to 8 weeks to launching between 5 to 8 franchisees every 4 weeks. And so it, it just has been a kind of like a true like marathon in terms of running it, but it's also a sprint. So I've like been sprinting, and I know that's just how it is when you're a
Yeah, you're
founder.
sprinting the marathon.
You're sprinting the marathon. You're running the marathon at 4.5 minute miles. Like it's wild. Um, but for me, like as I think about like scaling my life, scaling my business, I'm like, all right, like how do I build the company so that it's like sustainable long term? And the way it is, and I'm glad you mentioned team, is to find the right people um, who are really psyched to do the thing the function of the business needs, and to get the people that aren't right for the function that they're in, depending on the scale of the business, into either another position in the company or give them an opportunity to go somewhere else. Um, so I was just wondering kind of what your experience was like in terms of kind of that scale. You've been doing this for 5 years.
Yeah, and it goes up and down because I think especially when you run from folks that have you came into you had a corporate location, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you built the corporate location and then we were running the corporate location.
How many corporate locations do you have?
We have, well, we just sold one
So
to
you
an
have a
existing
new
franchisee.
franchisee.
So I had
Yep.
three, and so now I'm selling the other one to another franchisee,
So you'll
existing
have one.
franchisee. So I'll have one.
Oh wow.
Because I think that's something people, oh, you have a good business, you should franchise it. I talk to so many people reach out, should I
Mm-hmm.
franchise my business? That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
But
which I
what
do want to get into today a little bit.
which I'm excited
Yeah.
to talk about.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to call out when you're running corporate locations and franchising it, who's taking care of your corporate locations?
Yeah.
And that's one thing we're also doing for multiple years is running corporate locations and the franchise business
Which are
as
two
well,
separate businesses.
which are two separate businesses.
Yeah.
And so that's something that is, yeah, people don't tell you about that you're building a whole nother business on top of that one.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which is hard enough to run one business, let
yeah.
alone two. That like, and then if you're sharing infrastructure between those businesses, then it's like.
And
this
then what's the
person
priority, right? For me
Correct.
is the franchisees. I can support something on corporate, right?
Mhm.
But my franchisee is my client, but also then my employees are my customers too, because I
Mhm.
have to keep them happy to keep my end customer, my members, the pet parent. So it's
Right.
a ripple effect. But I think that's one thing that I really, especially anyone with any business service space, if you have corporate units and you're franchising, those are two businesses that you're building
Yeah.
on top of each other.
I like that you're building them because that way you could learn how to run it, and that was going to help you be a better franchisor. But I like that then you're selling them off because now you've kind of probably figured out a lot of the kinks. And now it's like, hey, franchise owner, you're doing great. Buy this like cash flowing, assumingly cash flowing business, and then you can focus more on franchising,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is hard.
Yeah,
Um,
we're very excited about that
yeah. So where's the one that you'll still have then?
in Hollywood.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Does that one do really well?
Hollywood is a really interesting market, does well, but the what's interesting is it's much more transient, right?
Oh, because people aren't living there
They're
long term?
moving there. They're
Oh.
moving. So we
So a lot of like
get,
actors
yeah,
and
and
like
what we get
writers.
actually is a lot of longer term. I mean, you have people on set all the time. So we have
Right.
two different memberships. We have two primarily different customer types at the Hollywood location because Netflix office is close by, so you get all the office workers, but then we also get a ton of people who are visiting in Hollywood, right?
Oh,
And so they're all
interesting.
going to Universal for the day. They're doing their whole Hollywood, the sign, everything there. So it's very interesting. It's such a good location. It has a ton of brand visibility, and our members there are very loyal. What's been cool is actually we had folks from our arts district location too that we didn't see. And when we opened the Hollywood, I'm like, who are these names? I recognize them. And they're like, oh, we moved over here and we're so excited to have you. So I think with the network effect, as you build more dog drops or anything, has been proven with that location.
That's cool. So what are you able to share about what these units do and like what your investment range is? And I understand there's like FDD,
All
totally
the
get
fun
it.
stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff.
Yeah. So I think any public information, if you go onto our website, we are a membership based business. When I talk to prospects or our owners, I'm like, it's much more, and why we have the Orange Theory franchisees I quickly alluded to. It's a one to many model, right? So you have one drop rater or dog daycare attendant to 15 dogs. That is our service, right?
Got
It's
it.
not a one on one. It's
So
not a
you have
five on
15
one.
dogs at one time, or can you fit more than
If
15
you have
dogs?
30 dogs, you have two people. You have 45 dogs, you have three
And
people.
how many can fit in the 22 square 100
It
square foot unit?
And I would say it depends, and we have three different parks, so it's
Yeah.
separated by energy level, low, mid, and high, so
Got it.
not
Okay.
just breed and size. And at all of our spaces are a little different, but between that range, you could probably fit up to 70 dogs at any given
Okay.
time.
Yep.
Sounds like a lot, but when you see them spread out, it still has a ton of space.
Got it.
But what you'll see is maybe you have more daily dog numbers because dog drop, we actually charge in 30-minute increments with a daily cap. So it's much more similar to a parking garage model in terms of how you pay. So we get a ton of folks that just drop off for a little bit. So we build in our technology as well that you can see. It's like when you go to Google and you're like, when's the Starbucks busy? And you see that like heat map. We have that in real time too at our locations. So I'm like, hey, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. it's always super busy from these hours, right? So now we know how to make smarter staffing decisions.
Got it.
So to get back out of our memberships, maybe the average member spends, you aim towards around 250 a month blended between the membership types. They start at $65 a month to 700, and it may vary depending on your market.
Got it.
But let's go off of that because that's the most typical pricing for our current locations. And then a store could probably fit around 300 to 350 monthly members.
Members. Okay.
Yeah, doesn't mean they're all coming every day.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah. Right. Sure.
Because they have different membership types. And I think the one thing I would note too, I always say it's like the opposite of a Planet Fitness model. We have very high utilization. So
Yep,
it's not
yep,
like
yep.
we're signing people up at $10 a month. They signing up 6,000 people and they're
And
not
then dropping
going.
them off all the time.
So it's a lower membership count, higher utilization, and they could even spend on top of their membership. So maybe your membership gives you a discounted amount of credits, right? But now I need more. In our software, your card is saved, right? So it's
Sure.
sort of like Uber.
So
You
you
just
can add
drop
more
off, pick up.
credits.
There's no like physical POS transaction at
Oh,
the
that's
drop off
cool.
or pickup.
That's helpful for the customer. Okay, cool. So let's get into like franchising as your distribution method. Did you consider other distribution methods before franchising, like actually just building all of
Yep.
them into corporate? Why did you decide franchising?
Going back to the local owner.
Just,
So
like, yeah.
money is not, I don't want to say it's not hard. That's execution is hard, right?
Right.
Money you can find. I know you like smart money, but
Yep.
if you're looking for any money, money can be found.
Sure.
And now it's on execution. And what I realized when I opened the Arts District, our first location in downtown LA, and even before we started, I went on all these hikes with the dog parents. I went to breweries and was hosting pups and pints and every single thing. I knew every parent, where they were going, when they're dropping
You're
off to
involved in your
work.
community.
Super involved.
Yeah.
And as we're scaling and building the systems, yes, you can hire a manager in LA at, starting 60, 70. Actually, I shouldn't say 60 because it's around 68,500. So let's say
Yeah.
starting at 70,000. And are they that bought in? Rock stars are.
Right.
Are you going to be able to build a business model only off of rock stars?
Right. Right. Right.
And when
Right.
we get into franchising, can the average person, average hardworking person, the average smart person, but not can a rock star make this business successful?
Right.
Can the average hardworking, intelligent person execute this model? And I think that's really why I'm so bullish on the franchise model. And then I also realized what our team was really good at, and that's building the back office support,
For the franchise
lead
owner.
generation,
Yep.
the software. Well, at first we were just building it for ourselves, and we're like, well, we have over architect like all of this. The architecture is insane for our scale, and now we can actually help other businesses in the daycare industry do this. So that was part of the thought process.
Oh,
Was
like
under
like as a software that you could sell to other daycare.
yeah, but then what we realized, then to take it further, I'm like, but that's not going back to our mission of the high quality, convenient, flexible dog daycare.
Right,
Because
right,
now
right.
you're providing a great like back office support system. So, and then, but when they come to the store, you're like, hey, this is like a disconnect from your
Sure.
online to offline experience. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you
we
decided to
kept
keep
kind
it
of pushing
internally.
it. Yep. So when you think of like a vertical SaaS model, you're like, how do you just build a fully like vertically integrated business? And so what Dog Drop is I help people start and grow their dog daycare, right? So like you, Rolling Sides helps people start and grow their power washing business.
Yeah.
So if you're like, hey, I want to get into business, I can get you into a $140 billion industry, pet
Yeah.
care businesses.
Yep.
I can get you into a lower labor model. At a Dog Drop, you probably need 6 to 10 employees, depending on part time, full time,
Volume. Yep.
volume, store maturity, right? And I can take care of most of your back office support. I can find you the best lease deals that I can do, and I will
Sure.
pound those doors myself, and our team will work every day on behalf of you.
Sure.
And I will get you the highest TI dollars that we possibly can. And then I will help you build a pre-sale list so you have founding members on day one, similar to a gym
Yeah,
opening
similar to an Orange
as
Theory.
well.
Yep.
And then I will help you take care of your monthly marketing for eternity, or your term.
Yeah.
And then I will help you with, I think the biggest part that people say is, why am I buying into a franchise system? We will help you with your operations. And that's what a franchise system is. It's
Yeah.
ongoing operational support, not just lead gen.
Yeah. So let's get into the franchise industry, the franchise model, what you've learned. So what were your expectations going into franchising? Like in terms of like what it was going to be like, and then what have you learned since then? How does that differ from your expectations?
I thought we had to have so much more built and prepared to franchise. So we spent a long time building this platform and everything. Then I'm looking at other franchisors with all these units. I'm like, oh, and what are you guys using for this? What are you using? I was trying to learn. They're like, yeah, we don't do that. I'm like, what I do the last like 2 years and all this money and all that, and spend like millions of dollars. And I'm like, okay, but why do you do this? Oh no, it's fine. I'm like, okay. Well, I'm like, we're ready.
Yeah. You're like way more ready than other people.
Yeah, and again, learning. Do we need to do that? I don't know.
Yep.
I'm glad we did, because again, but I'm like, are you at that scale? So it's a give and take and everything as well. So I think that was one thing I left. I'm like met with some of these big franchisors, and I'm like, oh, I wonder, they probably have so many resources, and I want to see exactly like best practices here and there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what, like every single thing, and it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you went around to some incubation firms, right, at the beginning?
Original, like the first
When you were
check-in.
deciding...
Before franchising, just
Oh,
when
before even franchising.
yeah.
So you went to like...
Are you talking about the first check-in?
Well, I'm talking about... So there was like... So there's these incubation firms in franchising, like
Oh.
Franchise Group, like all
I
these
think
different
I-
ones. Yeah, there's Fran, whatever. There's just a bunch of them, and I didn't know if that was part of your process because I learned a lot during that time, and I
Yep.
was like,
We're not doing that.
yeah, I was like, we are not doing.
So
Yeah,
skip.
yeah,
We're here. I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. So you live and you learn, and everyone's gonna tell you, oh, they're gonna do this and that, and you're like, not this one, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
lessons learned.
yeah,
And things get delayed, but I think sometimes you got to put a pin in it to make sure that we're in such a long-term business, right?
yeah.
Pet care, as much as I want to say, like, you have to scale, you have to rush, you have to do this, there are 90 million households in the US with dogs and animals. Like, this is a massive market, and if I had to put a pin in franchising for 18 to 24 months to figure out some unfortunate things, then that had to be done.
Yeah.
And that's part of our story, but I think that's important that you're like, I don't see this as like I'm building this business in 3 years and getting out.
Right.
I'm like, we are only
You're building a long-term sustainable
long-term,
business. Yeah. Yeah.
very, and when I think long term, I'm talking decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not long term, 3, 5, 10 years. I'm like decades. People only need more pet care services. The biggest thing, people, hey, I have a dog. I need to feed them and have someone watch them when I'm not home.
You're in a, I mean, if it was 2020, I think you were in before this kind of like macro, like humanization of dogs, right? Like you must have seen that, and then it kind of has grown a lot, right? Because it's been like, I don't know, since like 2022, 2021, where like dog supplements and dog this and dog cremation and like, I mean,
So what we saw was that I should say dog trends are about 10 years behind human trends, right? So everyone's like, humans. I always have to, who am I talking about?
Yeah.
Humans, oh, we have to eat organic, right? I'm going to eat all this stuff, right? Now 10 years plus. And I'm not talking about the niche, the people living in LA or whatever, the hippy dippies only eating organic. I'm talking about now mass adoption where everyone's prioritizing that. And then now you see there's like Just Food for Dogs. They started out with fresh dog food. They were OGs in fresh dog food. I think they're actually from California as well,
Yep.
right? They've been around forever, or I don't know exactly how long. And then they get the tailwinds, and 10 years later, now everyone's like, hey, actually burnt kibble balls aren't good for dogs.
Yeah.
And so then the farmer's dog comes in and
Yep.
lights that on fire, right? Farmer's dog is crushing it. And then you get Ollie and all these other fresh foods, right? And then raw foods, and not to get into that. And then now everyone's like, hey, well, humans need the gym and wellness and everything. How we can't just eat organic salads all day and sit on the couch, right? And so now our dogs, now the last 10 years, we're starting to feed them fresh food, but are we socializing them? Are we engaging with mental stimulation? Are we leaving them at home for a long time? So it's the same trend as 10 plus years behind.
Interesting.
And we are the leader of that. And so at the core, Dog Drop, we take care of people's dogs when they can't watch them.
Right.
But we've unlocked an entirely new market where people can drop their dog off for a half hour or an hour and just pay for what they use so their dog can get the mental stimulation, engagement, and recreation that they need.
Is that a play for franchise owners in terms of like additional revenue streams that they can like partner with like a Just Food for Dogs or partner with like a supplement company or partner with it, and all of a sudden like now they have, hey, drop your dog off, but also this is like a whole, I know that's a different business, but like you could theoretically just funnel them to those services, right? And get either a markup or a kickback from that company.
Yeah. So because we own, again, the software, we can own all the data on our dog parents and dogs and use that in, respectful ways. So I'm like, hey, here's Aaron. He comes from a vegan household. Let's say I can understand your profile, and now I can make a smart recommendation to you for Wild Earth dog food, which is vegan, right? And maybe I'm working with that brand and getting a kickback. So we work with brands and we can do affiliates. At the core, our business model is we want to sell dog daycare memberships. So I tell people, model it off dog daycare memberships. Anything else is we're building that on top. But the core model is, it's a membership model, dog daycare.
Yeah. And then you got married when?
June 1st, 2024.
Okay, so last year.
Yep, last year.
And what does your spouse do?
My wife works in biotech.
Okay.
And we were living in Long Beach, California. And
Yep.
about 2 weeks before our wedding, she got a job offer up in the Bay in Redwood
So
City.
that's why you moved up
So we
there.
moved up there. It's like, all right, let's do it. And like my work's very flexible. I'm always flying. We were just talking right before. Now we live 12 minutes south of SFO. I can get on a flight door to door within 12 to 15 minutes
It's
anytime.
perfect. Yeah, it makes a big
And
difference.
yeah, it's been awesome. Yeah. And she travels a lot for work. I do too. And actually, she's here in Nashville
She
as
came with
well.
you to
She
visit.
came.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was last week, she was in Miami for a conference. I went with her, visited our Fort Lauderdale franchisee. And then so we're able to overlap a ton, which is fun.
That's cool. So, how do you see kind of your life scaling with the business? Like this is a 10 to 20 to 30 year play for you. So, how do you see the team building? How do you see, like, I don't know if you want to have a family. Like, talk to me a little bit about that stuff.
Yeah. And I say, right, the business is a 10, 20, 30 year and hopefully longer than that business, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you see these services grow. And again, with you, I'm not whoever needs to be at the helm to guide this business in a different stage. I'm a proponent behind Dog Drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the brand
Yeah.
again. And so if that's me right now, I believe it's me.
Mm-hmm.
If in 6 months it's someone else, right?
Right.
But
You'll do what's
that's
best for the brand, essentially.
exactly. And I think I'm very fortunate that my wife's work is, I don't want to say it's flexible, but flexible-ish
Mm-hmm.
as well, where she can support this. And she has a stable W-2, which is really nice,
Yeah.
and travels a lot for work. I think when you think about family building, that's, I don't want to say it's scary, it's exciting. I
Mm-hmm.
think, everyone says things, yeah, definitely change, but I think we're both kind of committed to this lifestyle that it's not like life work balance. Like my life is working, but I make it like I'm able
Right.
to
It's
have fun and meet people in between. I'm going to Long Beach on Saturday. I'm going to check in with our stores in LA. Visit my grandma. She's 93 or 94 years old there. And so I just kind of like combine it all. And I have a lot of autonomy and flexibility there. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
that's awesome. So, how have you been finding your franchisees?
Good question. I kind of go through each one. So we were talking about content and X for us, and when you get into initial investment, I'd say our initial investment's a bit higher than home service brand,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people on X, at least in the whole like SMB communities, maybe it's a little lower investment range that they're looking for. Not that there aren't some sleuths also hanging out, but I've actually hate to say it, but like LinkedIn for our business is definitely probably more probable. Not to mention that other franchisee again, but just top of mind because I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
I sent a cold DM, right?
Nice.
So
Yeah.
from LinkedIn Sales
That's
Navigator,
great.
sent a DM to him. I believe it was, I don't remember if it was day or two before Christmas or something, right around, because I remember it was sometime the end of December. And then he was like, oh, interesting, whatever. Had a call, maybe a quick call or two. And he was like, oh, I'm going to be in Florida first week in January. I was going to be in Florida
So
to
you met
start
with him.
setting up. We're finishing construction for a Fort Lauderdale store. He came out there. We were able to meet. And then we spent, I don't know, 5 months talking and stuff too off of a cold DM. Did I send one cold DM? No, I sent 50, 80,
Right. Right.
100
Right.
as well. And did I send a generic DM? No, I literally sat there for 10 hours reading everyone's profile. Okay, Orange Theory, how long was he there? Does he like other posts? What am I learning about this person? So now when I'm reaching out to someone, I'm saying, hey, Aaron, I saw you have experience in a membership based business and we're able to grow it, and that you're also a volunteer at SBCA Brentwood.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Happen to like dogs. I'm launching another one to many. So I'm using keywords that I'm expecting this person likes because
Mm-hmm.
that's their whole background.
Sure.
And so I'll spend a lot more time on this outbound strategy than, hey, interested in this investment opportunity,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Like
Which is not
I'm
going to get as
speaking
much.
exactly, I'm saying like, hey, I noticed you're based in Brentwood or in Nashville. Did you know Nashville has X million, population or dogs, and there's only 3 other competitors in this area? I'm putting in work. So all of my outbounds, are very specific. And even I've worked with, I have, some folks working offshore or assistants, virtual. I hate the term virtual assistant. They just like are humans that
Yeah.
work for you.
Right, right,
Like,
right.
I don't know what virtual avatars they are. Um,
Yeah.
but like these ones, I'm like, you got one shot, and I'm doing these ones right now myself.
Yep.
And even if I scale and I give that playbook to someone else, if I have like a one shot message with you, I want it to make sure I got it nailed in.
Yeah.
And I sent one. There was one, and I was like, oh, I was going to. This was at the end of like, I'll spend 4 to 6 hours at the end of the night. It's like my 9 p.m.
Yeah,
story. Yeah, I'm like, oh, and I sent one to this woman who is a game day health franchisee, maybe somewhere in Texas, I don't remember. And I put in the wrong brand, and she wrote back, right? And I think like I'm trying so hard, right, to read.
Yeah.
I left one thing wrong brand. She goes, well, I'm not a whatever owner. You should have like I don't. And I was like, yeah, my chances with her are over.
Yeah.
And I wrote like 100%. You're right. I'm out.
Yeah. Like I lost my shot.
Yeah. And I would say and I said, well, at least, I'm a human and make mistakes. This wasn't a bot because I didn't get it perfectly. If you want to give me another shot, let me know.
Yeah.
I don't think she responded, but I owned it.
That's cool. So LinkedIn and X has pretty much been where you found yours.
Yeah,
your
X
franchises.
not as much. I'd say LinkedIn. X I get a lot of booking like calls or prospects or something. I'm trying to think if someone's came all the way through X. I don't.
Yeah, that was our predominantly where we were getting most of our friends. I mean, I think those two different platforms kind of like feed into one another because if you're on X and you're in the SMB ETA Holdco / Fran X, whatever you want to call it, space, you also go on LinkedIn, and so that's kind of where we spent most time in terms of it. But then X has just completely gone like literally haywire.
I think your investment range and your category, there's a lot of folks on X there, right?
I mean, we're 300 to 400 is roughly where we're at in terms of where they need to be at, which is definitely higher than the like they have to have at least $250,000 in cash that they're bringing to the table.
Okay.
But I mean, the reason is because we don't do single unit deals. They're going to need to open up that second truck within the first 9 months. We don't want to wait until they're like super cash flowing on the first truck because like in some cases, like we've won like really large jobs for our franchise owners on a national accounts level. And if they don't have that, like they have to have that, and then they have to also go get an SBA loan. So on top of it, let's say they're coming to the table with like 600 grand, but now they can go buy that second truck 3 months in to go service this like huge job that like, and then hire 2 people for it. Whereas if it was like, hey, we need to wait till this first truck gets ramped, like they might not be able to service that work. And for us, like we're majority commercial, like 70-80% in some markets. And so not only do they have to service the job, they then going back, they have to close the deal, which might take 60 to 90 days. Then they have to service the job, which might take a week to 4 weeks, depending on the size of the job. Then they have to wait 45 days to get paid on the job. So you're talking, so like as I think through, like how do we find it? But anyways, that's just
an accounts receivable business.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
One thing that's been surprising to me is the hatred for franchising on X. Have you seen this?
I kind of stay out of it, but I see it. I saw someone post something yesterday as well. It's hit or miss, right?
It's wild.
Yeah. Who do you get it from? People that are in franchising that hate it, or outside?
Outside.
Okay.
It's like this SMB community that like, I mean, and I get it. Like they started their own business, and why would anyone ever? But like I saw this one post specifically. It was like, would you either buy a franchise and become a franchisee, or give a minority partner equity in your business? And every single post was minority partner all the way, minority partner, minority partner. So the reason I bring this up is like, you and I are young franchisors relative to like the 60-year-olds who have been doing this a long time. Like we're next gen franchising. So like, what can we do to like change
So to
that?
me, that's not my target.
Sure.
So people that are already going to do something, they can hate it, they can have fun clap hands, whatever they like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
all day
Make
because
themselves
they
feel
did
good.
it themselves.
Right.
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 But I'm like, what's super cool? I'm like, my target is folks that are like, hey, I maybe just finished business school. I'm trying to start something. I don't know. And they know it. And what I actually have found that is super cool is all the interest in franchising from folks that I thought never. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really what's compelling is
Yeah.
folks that have like, I never really thought, I was like, I'm a franchise. I knew someone I grew up and they owned like all these McDonald's. I was like, oh, that's weird. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that
Yeah.
girl's family owned all those McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah, like she's crushing it.
Yeah, they're crushing it. But like, I remember growing up, I'm like, oh, how embarrassing.
Yeah. Like, oh,
I feel,
fast food, that's gross.
I feel bad for them. I'm like, what?
You're like, oh, she was worth $20 million. Yeah.
So it's funny. And so I think I was actually in Rhode Island the last few days with my wife.
Cool.
She went to a family office conference. Nice. And so it's all these folks investing in, biotech and whatever, all these top family offices in Newport, Rhode Island. I sat down, of course, I find my people anywhere. So I talked to these guys. They own 90 Wendy's, right?
Wow, yeah.
And it's like, these are the people, and this is over the last 24 months. Their background's not in franchising.
Is it Heritage?
No,
Okay.
That's not the name of them.
Okay.
That's like, if you said it, I would say it. That's not, and they're based on the East Coast.
Okay.
And what I think is cool, I'm like, all these people are getting into franchising. That's new. They got up to, I think, 89 or 90 Wendy's in 2 years.
That's wild.
And I mean, that's next level, right? I'm going to say that that's next level. But in terms of folks from banking backgrounds, consulting, anything that are so excited, they're like, hey, I'm not like launching a Squarespace website. Like, I'm not on Google My Business all day, right? I'm not like going to be like posting like hate messages on X just to like rally up the crew. But like, I want to build a scalable business. I think all of those folks are really interested. And the other thing is what I've found is really cool because we're in the venture world.
Yeah.
I get a lot of folks that work at these venture funds. They're like, can I buy a franchise too? I'm like, these are like venture capital investors, and now they want to invest. I'm talking directly as a franchisee, not necessarily in dog drop only, but any franchise that they're interested in as a new asset class. So I find that very interesting. And it's a different person than someone who's like scrappy, wants to save their last dollar and die on a hill of like, it's a cool story. I started a business, power washing business with $100. Like, that's cool. Like, you know, props. Like, honestly, that's someone opens even a dog daycare with, I don't know how they could open it for $50,000 and start from their house and build it. Like, sweet deal.
Great.
It's not really it's not really what we're doing, but props to you.
Yeah. I found that as well. Like I think the entrepreneurship through acquisition kind of wave, I don't know about for you, but like it's been really good for our business. 'Cause like, you've got these influencers talking about it and, I'm going to buy a business through zero down, and regardless like whether or not that works or not, like these people, like they've been looking for a franchise, or they've been looking for a business for like 12 to 18 months, and it's like, dude, you're not going to find this like perfect million EBITDA like
that's
HVAC
if they're
business.
lucky for 12 to 18 months. Normally we're at 24 36 months. Knock
and they're getting bid out all the time, and private equity is now playing even more downstream because like it used to be like, oh, they don't go anything less than 2 million in EBITDA, but like if they're seeing an opportunity like $1 million in EBITDA, and they like, so anyways, it's like it's shrinking the supply pool, but the demand pool is just getting larger and larger and larger, and then you've got this kind of like wave of like interest in entrepreneurship through the Gen Z generation of like, oh, I don't want to go. Like I've heard it called the tool belt generation. Like they're like, I don't want to go work for someone else and pay $200,000 in college to make $50,000 for the next 5 years and then be all in debt and stuff like that. So we have this like big push towards like just business ownership in general. And I think franchising has a really big opportunity to like shine over the next 10 to 15 years.
Oh yeah. I think the amount of people, and I think one thing for us, and even your investment range, right? And I'm not the biggest fan of taking out all these SBA loans. Like, let's say our investment per item, per FDD, we're in a 500K range, but I'll be working all day, every day to make sure that you're getting a ton of TI dollars back, so that hopefully you're much below that from an initial investment range. But I'm not having people take out SBA or any loans on unit one. or you need a stepping stone business,
Yep.
right? You shouldn't be taking out, at least that's my philosophy. Other folks at a 500K investment range as a franchisor will be pushing those all day long.
Sure.
And that's also probably from a growth perspective, is how are people financing it? Now, when you're growing and scaling your business as a franchisee, then now use financing to scale and
Yep.
grow, right?
Sure.
But for me, from the ground up, you don't need to put your house on the line. Like, it's too much stress. People go crazy. I don't want to be in someone's divorce, right?
Right,
Like,
right, right.
just take a little time. We're going to be here, right?
Yeah.
That's for sure. Build something else in between, build some equity yourself, and then come back to us. And that's really important for me, for someone on their first unit.
Totally. That makes perfect sense. And we did the first 160 units that way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't accept SBA loans. I was like, if you can't afford this on your own and you can't stomach and I would tell people, like, the franchisee that needs to replace their $120,000 to $170,000 income year one is not our franchisee. And I find that there's this really big, like, there's a big buyer pool of people that look for franchises that, like, have $150,000 to $170,000 a year job, and they're not willing to leave that job, and they want to deploy cash that they have in their retirement, and they have 10 to 15 hours a week. And it's like, it's lunacy. So they come to me, or at least they've gotten on my calendar in the past, and you'll like this. I'm like, okay, I hear that you have $250,000 to deploy. I hear that you have 10 hours a week. I'm in the franchise industry, right? So I know all the brands. If there was an opportunity where I could deploy $250,000 and get it for 10 to 15 hours a week and get a multi-million-dollar return, my friends and I would just own all the territories. Like, we
would do it ourselves.
We would just do it. Like, it'd be fine. But I think that presents an opportunity for folks like you and me to build great brands that show what it actually takes to, like, build a business and build a franchise, and, like, what a franchise is.
Yeah. I think that's one thing I really admire is you, and I think have taken a similar approach, especially from your content, and especially with, first call, I'm like, this isn't a passive income, right? This is not a passive investment at all. I'm like, you're there all day, every day until you earn the right to step away.
Sure.
Right? You have to earn the right. I've had corporate locations. I've been able to step away. I don't know that we can do the same thing.
Right.
Also, do I think if I was there more, could they do better? Right? Like, you have to earn, in, like, very MBA jargon, build your bench to step away. And our business model was meant to do that.
Yeah.
But every owner is different. And if that's 6 months for you, but if it takes you 18 months to do that, and your manager quit and your assistant manager quit at 8 months and something else, and the staffing issue happened, then that's what it takes. So it's whatever it takes you. And there are kind of, recommendations, thoughts, what it should be. And if also for us, I'm like, well, if it should take someone that long, we're probably not going to move them forward with this process.
Right, sure, yeah.
Too, kind of get a good gauge on that throughout the process. But especially as an emerging franchisor, you're really counting on your folks, and they need to be all in.
They need to eat, sleep, breathe, bleed the brand. Like, if you think about, like, you and me, when you launch a franchise brand, you're investing millions of dollars. You're putting everything on the line as a franchisor. You're building systems. I mean, at least for me, like, all chips are on the table, right? And so, like, for us, it's like, you got to be the same on the franchisee level. And I don't want to be competing with someone else for your time, like, to build this location. Like, we need to be in the same boat here from a risk perspective.
Yeah, all in. And I think that's what people don't realize, especially I think sometimes from a corporate location, they're like, oh, you're the owner, like, you can do whatever. I'm like, we're all in. Like, everything is in this business, right? And so we will be here every step of the way. It's in our best interest for you to succeed. And what comes down, and even what we've done actually with our franchise fee structure, is someone's like, oh, how much is
I wanted
your...
to ask you about that. Yeah, I've seen you break that down, which I think is really unique. Yeah, share about that. That'd be cool.
So, right, someone's like, how much is your franchise fee? I'm just going to say it's $55K because that's my short answer. But if you really want to talk about it, I'm like, hey, actually, our franchise fee is $12K. That's misleading. I don't advertise that because I want to over-index. But then 10 days later, you pay us $10K or $15K for your onboarding platform. Then 10 days later, you pay us for your site selection. So it's a service delivery with milestones. So again, going back to my job is to help people launch and grow their business. You pay me, I help you. You pay me, I help you. We don't just take money and sit back. And
Mm-hmm.
so our service fee is lined up in that way. And I think that's so important for people to understand the franchisor franchisee relationship. And it's different for every franchisor, but at least what we're building, my business is providing services to a franchisee. As simple as that, whether they're hard or soft services, whether it's technology, back office support, marketing, lead generation, operations, the use of our brand,
Mm-hmm.
right, at the bare minimum. And I think that's so important for people to realize it's your own business, but we help you. You build and grow it.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. I saw you break that down. One thing that I also admire about you that not many franchisors do is they lean into content and personal brand. When did you realize that was important?
I used to always post more of like my personal life and stuff on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I don't think there's a moment I'm like, oh, I'm doing this because it's important for my brand, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's how people get off, hopefully being a little more authentic. I'm like, not like, oh, I'm only going to do this because it's good for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? At first, you just start doing something, post about your life. Oh, I'm working on this, building in public before it even had a name of
Yeah.
building in
Right. Right.
public.
Right.
Like,
Right.
oh, cool. Like, look what I'm up to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how, and then I think over time, you're like, oh, wow, this really like is leading to something. I think that's when also it's been harder to post,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm like, oh, well, now am I supposed to say that? I can't say that. Was this disclosed in the FDD,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'm like, oh, maybe someone will like that. Our franchisee didn't want that shared. Maybe this team member follows me. They're gonna read.
Yeah. All
They're
of a
gonna
sudden you're like
read
dissecting
that.
it from the outside
I'm
in and it
like,
becomes
oh
not fun
gosh.
anymore.
I'm like, all I wanted to post was like, here's me like painting the walls, right? And
Right.
like
Right.
that's
Right.
the stuff that people like. I'm like, oh, you want to think is like glamorous? I'm like, I'm literally will like scrub like it's crazy. My wife when we first met in 2021 was like, I think we had been together like 2 months, but there was this was I don't remember. Yeah, 2 or 3 months. And in LA, there's something called a leptospirosis outbreak for these dogs. We didn't have
Oh
anything, but
wow.
everyone was all nervous because it's coming after COVID. It's like, it's a very, dogs, there's a lepto vaccine for it, right? So you just have to keep things clean. But when this kind of broke, I was like, well, we're going to extra sanitize the location. So when we're closed on Sundays anyway. I like went there, I got all this like spray, kind of like the soft power washer to do all
Mm-hmm.
the walls with all these chemicals to clean out, kill any airborne things. And so she was like, oh, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, meet me at Dog Drop at the Arts District. Something's just I have to do something for a half hour there, right? Like come down. Obviously it took like 4 to 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, we're like spraying the walls and I'm getting into it. I'm like, well, let's scrub this or that. And it's like,
That's business
yeah,
ownership. Yeah.
that's ownership. I'm like, could I have hired someone? But next thing turns in, I'm like, it has to be done today. And I think that's what people really care about seeing. It's not like, hey, look at me, I'm washing a window for my business, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's something more authentic. But I always laugh when some people are like, I had to go and like take out the trash today. It's like, well, yeah, that's like literally your
Yeah.
business. So
That's part of the deal.
yeah, like, wow, business ownership so hard. Like you're in the trenches.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell me like kind of the 10-year plan. So you have a handful of franchisees now.
Yeah.
Is there a point in which you pour gas on the fire and go kind of like that we're going to find a bunch of franchisees route? Are you like establishing it now? Are you going to continue growing at this pace? Like what's your kind of like plan?
Yeah, so I think we have some exciting units opening next year
Okay.
as well. And then I think I think in about 18 months, we're like, okay, now how do we penetrate each market?
Yeah.
So by the end of next year, we'll be in more than a handful of really great markets across the US. And then now it's how to double down on units there. So I think that's what the following year looks like.
Like unit count for the existing Z's
Yeah.
or unit count meaning finding new?
Existing.
Okay, got it. So
Yeah.
giving them the opportunity to kind of build in those markets.
Yeah.
So when they buy, let's say their first unit in Nashville, are they signing a development agreement to open more?
Yeah.
So how big are usually the development agreements?
So right now I'm doing 2 to 4 unit deals.
Okay.
Could be more or less, but even for instance, like we're working with a few folks that have owned a couple dozen franchisees in different or units in different brands before, and I'm like, open 2 to 4, and then I'll sign you up for more.
Right,
You're,
right, right.
unless you're opening 12 in the next 12 to 18 months, I'm not going to sign I call those like vanity deals,
Right, because then they're
right?
just going to sit there, and then you're
Yeah.
gonna have to take them back, which is a whole issue.
And it's why the only reason someone does that is to
Get more
post.
franchise fees and sell more
Yeah,
unit. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We don't even get, especially with our breakdown, how I explained it. We actually don't even get all those franchise fees up front.
Right.
Too, we get the 12K per unit, and then everything else, if you
It's
sign up
paid
for
for
5 units,
services.
paid as those go.
Right.
And so that's showing like partnership. I'm not just going to take 200, 400K, sit on it. Yes, that would be nice for to capitalize our franchisor as well, but I'm like, you pay us, we do something, and vice versa. And that
Yeah.
is the relationship. It is as much, I know you always say franchising is a relationship.
Yeah.
That's important, but there are also transactions, and we need to be
Sure.
accountable. It can't be a vague relationship. It needs to be an accountable transactional relationship at some part
Yeah.
too. And that's really important. Like service lines, I'm like, we will do XYZ. It's not like we will support you. We will literally do your back office customer support, your
Yep.
onboarding appointment booking, your vaccination records. It's not like a vague support
It's like, here are the things that
package.
we do to support you, and
Yep.
yeah, and it's quantifiable, because
That's
theoretically, what if they could go pay for that elsewhere, they're probably going to end up paying more money, and therefore decreasing their
yeah.
margins anyways.
And I'm not saying you should franchise, because again, you can pay someone else to do these line item things as well. So you're going all in. You're also joining a brand, a network of other folks. We have a Slack channel for all of our franchisees. They can all chat. We support. There's a lot more to it, but I think that things that are very quantifiable are important as well to hold both parties accountable.
Yeah, I think that's great. Um, and then talk to me. I know you said you wanted to kind of double click on this part, but like people wanting to franchise their business and not necessarily like having a franchisable business, and yeah,
Some are franchisable businesses, but that doesn't mean they are set up to franchise that business.
right,
And it doesn't mean a third party should come in, tell them to franchise it, not give them dollars, not give them the support, but take a big equity position
mm-hmm.
and royalties into perpetuity
Yeah,
and let them sink.
yeah,
And I think that's the current state
mm-hmm.
that I see a lot. There's always outliers. And I actually am laughing. I think, was it like a month ago? One of the big companies that do those, I don't know exactly what
They're
those
like incubators, or I don't
incubate,
even
but
know
they're
if
kind of
you'd
like, I
call
don't
them
want to call
that.
them franchise development, like a whole mix, whatever they're called. That's kind of, they call small businesses all day. And one of them's like one of the bigger ones. And I know, like, I've been connected with that CEO many times as well, but they just have anyone, they'll call anyone. They have their virtual assistants, their
Mm-hmm.
outsourced sales team calling anyone. I'm getting all these voicemails from them, and I'm like, I know these people, and they're like, do you want to franchise your business? We saw that you own a dog daycare and whatever, like, we ran your numbers, it looks right. I'm like, this is a total spam, but like, and I know that
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, well, we are a franchise, and I literally know your CEO and everything. And thanks. And like, you're telling me you ran all my numbers, and I have the perfect model, and that you have all the resources to scale in, and let's set up a free consultation call, right? Because I'm in this industry and I know it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a small, medium business owner and this person calls me, I'm like, whoa, I'm on to something
Yeah, yeah,
huge,
yeah, totally.
right?
If you
I'm
didn't know
like,
about it, oh yeah.
hey, I'm talking to my spouse. Hey, these people are calling me. They're from New York City. They think I have like $1 billion
Yeah,
business,
yeah, yeah.
right? Like I looked them up. These guys look legit. Here's
Yeah.
like 5 brands. They build the biggest household names, and they're calling me and
Yeah, yeah,
wherever
yeah.
I live with my ice cream shop, and they know I'm sitting on gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that in a way that these folks are naive, because they're not. They built very good businesses, and they're not elementary, and they may be sophisticated, but they don't know about this.
Right.
And then you're told something, and I've been in that position. You only know what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you only know what to ask when you know. And even if everyone tells you, you're like, oh, what's this? So, and exciting dreams are one thing. So that's what I think is worrisome, and you see those all the time.
Yeah, I mean, So when I first, I mean, I worked at a platform company where we were had tons of capital and they were either incubating brands or buying brands. But I had never played in the like all franchise your business space.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was doing was trying to find a business that was good, that I could then acquire the brand, partner with the founder, but give them a minority stake in this new company, which is the franchise company. Again, going back to what you said about, hey, your $2 or $3 million service business or your $2 or $3 million dog business is a great business. It's not a franchise. We have to create the franchise from scratch. And when I got into that space and I started talking to these different companies, I was like, whoa, like this is wild.
Well, the other big thing is also people are like, oh, you want to franchise your business? I'm a franchise attorney. I can franchise your business. I'm like, so that's like you wrote an agreement for someone. You're not helping in any.
No,
That's not.
that's not franchising your
That's not
business.
franchising your business. That's a component, a very, very important
Yeah, you need
component.
yeah.
And that's another one they're like that I see often too is they're like, well, I got this franchise attorney and they're gonna write my FDD so that and now I'm ready to franchise. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, if you do you want honest advice or do you want me to just say go for it? Like I could give you either.
Talked to one guy. He had a great like smart home business or whatever. Solid dude, just a really nice guy. When I was looking, because I looked at like 24 of these businesses, and he's like, yeah, I paid this guy $50,000, and we're working on the FDD and stuff like that. And I was like, well, who's running your other business? He goes, well, I am. I was like, who's doing the sales for your other business? He's like, I am. I was like, so how much money do you have to go towards franchising? He's like, I mean, I spent it. That was the 50 grand I spent on franchising. I'm like, no. You didn't franchise your business. You spent 50 grand
For a legal document.
For a legal document. And like, you need another million or two to franchise. And all your time, by the way.
I also have when people, they're like, oh, we're a well-capitalized franchisor. We raise money to franchise, and that's their value proposition. Then you're like, how much did you raise? They're like, 150K.
Oh, God.
I was like,
that's
okay.
not enough for even a human to help grow the business.
Well, then I'm like, and then what's hard, you have to put so much stress on franchise sales.
Yeah.
Then you have to sell these units because you have to take fees because you need money to operate the business. And yeah, I think I probably would have done something in between.
Mm-hmm.
I think looking back, we had capital, so we didn't have to push sales as much because I'm like, and even as I describe our franchise fee structure, we don't make a lot of money off the franchise fee,
yeah.
right? For better or worse. And so, but that's allowed us to go at our own pace, not being like, we'll sell it all.
Right.
See, I look back on some calls, I'm like, oh gosh, thank God we moved on from that, right? But if I had $0 in the bank, I'd have been like, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
If that's the path you're going down. So I think there's a lot of, interesting stuff. The other big one, someone posted this yesterday, I think, that I follow. I've had a couple convos with this guy, but I think what people don't realize is also if your franchisee doesn't make, you shouldn't, everyone's like, you should just be the franchisor. The franchisors make so much money, right? And someone posted, oh, why doesn't so-and-so, someone that owns a ton of franchisees, I can't believe like he's such a big franchisee, he should just be a franchisor. It's an entirely different business. And so I think I'd want to hear your thoughts. I actually heard Dan Clapp's talk in Cincy last week too. And I liked what he was saying. They're putting, I'm like, he said it, I don't remember exactly how many dollars, but they're putting, what people don't know, massive dollars to support his franchise.
Yeah.
Right? Massive dollars. And so I'd kind of want to hear what you think about
Yeah.
people saying, hey, a franchisee should just sign up and become a franchisor.
So I think being a franchisee and a franchisor are two different completely businesses. The franchisee has a playbook to follow. The franchisor is figuring the playbook out. That's fundamentally their job, is to figure the playbook out. I actually think it's riskier to figure the playbook out and make the mistakes and sign all of these legal agreements with franchisees than it is for the franchisee to have, let's just call it 80% of the playbook. Maybe their job is to go and figure out the other 20% of what works in their market. They have a community of people that are doing it. Theoretically, that community is valuable and helpful and collaborative. And they also have the playbook. The franchisor is like, okay, I'm gonna go drop millions, and I'm gonna create the playbook, and and then I'm
For
gonna
less than 8% of royalties or whatever.
for 8% or whatever, and oh, by the way, I only get to this 8% if my franchisees do what they
Open.
open, and also then run the play, and don't do jobs off books, and don't start other companies, and don't keep their job full time, and don't all of those things that are associated with it. And I don't think the franchise model long term, I'm thinking of like long term value creation, really makes sense unless you can get to 40 to $50 million in system wide sales. Like, I've ran the math. Like, to get a business to that many units, get them open, and then the staff necessary to support that amount of units, it's more than
Yep.
what you would get from the royalties from that. And
That's what I think, Dan, and I could be off, so don't hold me to it. I think he was like 70 mil at least in terms
yeah,
of system wide.
yep,
That's what I remember him saying, and I'm like,
yep.
yeah, that's people don't realize it's a small piece. People are like, you're paying the franchisor so much. I'm like, it's a small piece.
No, if a franchisee does $100,000 in a year or $200,000 in a year, you're making, call it 8 to 16 grand. It's going to cost a hell of a lot more than 8 to 16 grand to support that franchisee to
Yep.
get to 150 to 250 to $300,000, because they need the support they need. And ultimately, like, my success of my business is dependent upon franchisees executing on the model. And you can only convince franchisees to do so much of the model, and there will be ones that are great and they do it 100% to a T. But the truth of the matter is, most don't. They just don't. And yeah, I would say I mean, 40 to 50 would probably be the bare minimum. David Barr has always said 50,
Okay.
at a 6% royalty. I mean, if we do 50 million in system wide sales, our royalty is 8%, and then they have a 2% brand fund. The 2% brand fund, you're spending way more than the 2%
yeah.
brand fund to build out the brand. So let's just call it, 5 million minus whatever 2% of that is. I mean, I was talking to a franchisor this past week, and he's got a swim school, and you got to build a pool. It's like a whole like $500,000 to $700,000 investment. And I told him that I've got a CEO in place, I've got a chief development officer in place, I have a CMO in place, I have a CFO in place, I have a VP of operations. I told him we have 23 corporate team members, and he was blown away. He asked me, like, payroll. I'm like, dude, I'm spending millions of dollars a year on payroll. He's like, you're paying a full CEO salary. I'm like, yeah, but I'm trying to build a $1 billion company. Like, if I'm investing millions in payroll now, it's because we have 90 franchise owners that are relying on us to help them grow their business. But it's so far outside the realm of like what most people think when they franchise their business. Only so many businesses can get to even $1 million in revenue, let alone 5, let alone 10, let alone 100. And if you're building a franchise system, you need to be able to have a brand that can get to at least 50 to 100 million in system wide sales. And it's going to cost a lot more in infrastructure than you're initially making for years.
A long time.
For years. And then if you go hire a franchise development company, you need more money because you're going to give them the majority of the franchise fee. So I just like, it just drives me absolutely crazy, because the majority of the people I talk to that are emerging brands, I ask them, how much money do you have to go towards franchising? And 9 times out of 10, it's less than 100 grand.
To set everything up.
No, that's what they say they have allocated. And they're being hunted by like franchise development companies.
Yeah, because they don't care, right? They get their fees or their commissions, or your lawyer got my 50K and creating an FTD for a brand that I don't care if they sell tomorrow. I'll just go to the next one. Interesting. And then how do you see, I was talking to someone interesting, this was a couple weeks ago. How do you see, right? Because the more top line revenue your franchise do, obviously, the more you guys get from your commissions, from your royalties. So then how do you see pushing your franchisees to grow their business as well? Like, how do you do that?
Sure.
Or are you okay with people saying like, hey, they want to they want to do a 200, 300K revenue business. I don't know what type of
Right.
money your trucks bring in.
Yeah.
Like, are you okay with people who are like, hey, like, I'm good with this, right? Or are you like, no, we need to hit the gas?
Yeah. So for us, like, there's a reason why we do a minimum of 2 units. A truck on average does over 400 grand
Okay.
annually. Like an operating truck, they're gonna have a smaller margin on one truck that they're gonna have on two.
Yep.
And then the business really starts to make a lot of sense at like 3 to 4 to 5 trucks. Like it's a killer business. And so what I always tell franchise owners is like, hey, you're gonna invest 250 to 400 grand
On a
in
single truck.
in getting probably 2 to 3 units open,
Okay.
because over that course of that time, a down payment on a truck's like 30 grand. They need 2 guys for every truck, or two employees, and ultimately for that first like 18 months, they're going to invest the majority of what they get from those trucks back into growing. But then by year 3, let's say they have 3 trucks on the road, they're on a run rate of $400,000 per truck times 3, which is a $1.2 million business, which is great. I always tell franchise owners, if you want to have one truck and you want to have one business that does 2 or 3 or $400,000 a year, we're not the model for you. We're just not.
So then now what do you do with ones that open 1 or 2, but they're like, hey, actually, I'm good with this, right? Because in the beginning,
Correct.
again, it's the same when you're getting that first
Right.
check in. I'm excited. I'm gonna make all this money. I want 3 trucks, and then now you're like, this
So
is hard.
the reality of it is at that point, they would lose the territories that they're not
Yep.
opening. Just like if you were to buy a Wendy's and you have a development schedule to open 2 more Wendy's.
Or dog drop.
Or dog drop.
Yep.
Yep. And then they don't. We as franchisors, we can't risk having our AUVs affected by 2 units never opening. And so that's another thing that franchisees don't really understand is like when we allocate a market to someone, we're modeling in our own business that market's going to produce a certain amount of royalties. So if someone buys 3 units and they only open one, and it's written into the contract, they're just agreeing not to have those units anymore, and that they'll have to sell them to someone else, ideally, an existing franchisee, or like worst case scenario, we would take the units back and sell them ourselves. But ultimately, like we've made a very intentional decision to only seek out owners who want to build a multi-truck empire. And a cool stat for us is just under 30% of our operating franchisees were former C-level executives, so they were used to making 2, 3, 400 grand a year in like personal income, and they're leaving that with the expectation that they're going to grow a business, a commercial power washing business that does residential as well, to a size that makes sense of that. And while we don't promise that by any means, we're like, this is what we're trying to accomplish with our franchise owners. These are the franchise owners you'll talk to in our model who made this investment and made these decisions. But like, if you just want a $200,000 to $300,000 business, like, don't buy our model. It just doesn't make sense.
Will you allow folks to keep their W-2, or how do you control that?
No.
Is that something written, or is it a verbal push?
So basically, yes, it's written in the FDD that they or a manager must be involved actively full-time in the business. But we even take it one step further. So they need to leave their full-time job 4 weeks prior to going to training. Because what we do, just as you probably do, you pre-sell memberships, is we say, listen, like, this is a B2B sales business ultimately. Like, we do power washing, but this is a B2B sales and marketing business that, like, the service and the delivery of the service is power washing. So what we're going to do is we have kind of outbound email and cold email lead gen.
I've got one of them.
Oh, do you? Nice.
From someone in LA for, was it Denver? Actually, I think it was at our Denver location.
Emailing like
I got a inbound from, I think, a Suds franchisee.
Yeah.
To one of our dog drop locations in Denver.
That's cool. Yeah, so we're really big on like creating opportunities for our franchise owners to go out and close deals. And these are commercial opportunities at a place like Dog Drop or a Wendy's or a Starbucks or a shopping center or a water tower or a municipal building or an office building. And then the franchise owner goes out and closes that deal.
Yep.
But these could be like really large deals. And so what we want the franchise owner doing, and also it could take 18 months to close a deal, depending on the size of the job. Like we did the Superdome, which took 9 months to close the top of the Superdome. So we want the franchise owner for those 4 weeks from 9 to 5 focused on driving sales. And then the 4 weeks prior to that, we're teaching them how to drive sales, how to sell, how to talk to their customers, and what the actual model of the business looks like. And so they also have to hire 2 technicians prior to going to training. So they need those 4 weeks of
Yep.
full-time effort to make sure that their 2 technicians that they bring with them to training have work to do.
Yeah.
And so it's very strategic in terms of like scale, but I mean, you'll learn, like I learned this, any franchisor is going to learn this, is like only so many franchise owners are going to be able to push through the uncertainty of the first 18 to 24 months of business, no matter the model, in terms of the just kind of like when you're a business owner, like you could have all the tools in the world, but like you're still a business owner. You
Yeah.
know? So that's kind of how I think about it.
I think that's for us, as we mentioned, it can take, 10 to 12 months if everything goes right with your dog drop timing. And construction is really 90 to 120 days. So
Right,
once we start construction, we're like, now timelines are very clear for us,
Right,
unless
right.
something goes totally rogue, which we haven't had happen, but I'm sure, and we leave room in that 90 to 120 days for it too. But then we know we have a pretty good timeline for a store opening. And then about 6, so I say right at that time when construction starts, if you've remodeled your house, anything, the more you're there and pushing it and keep things moving is great. So you can kind of keep working 60 days out. I'm like, that's when it's pre-sales. Really, we try to start at 9. Well, we do start at 90 days, but from a full-time capacity, it's at 60 days of like, now let's rock.
Yeah,
We
that
expect
makes
your
sense.
full attention. We expect you to be at every brewery with dogs. We expect you to go to all the apartment complexes, pop up, we call it tabling, just table everywhere, get the brand out there. And we have a pretty specific playbook for pre-sales.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to set the right expectations, get them out there grinding, and kind of make them understand that this is their business. Like if I could grow your business for you, like we would just open corporate locations. Like this is your business and we want to help you do that, but this is your business.
Yep. I think that's one thing also with timing for people. I'm like, okay, the next 8 months, like you can keep working full time or
Sure.
whatever you do. I'm not in control of your personal finances or if you want to take time off or anything. But it's not overnight. We had someone, he's like, I want to sign up. Actually, would have been a really good candidate. I was fired up over this person. We had a handful of calls. I'm like, we're on the same page. She had a great market, great background, everything. He's like, okay, but I need to start in 3 months. I was like, we've kind of talked about what in the first call. You kind of talk about what the
Right, what's your
process looks
timeline, yeah.
like, the opening. And he's like, if you can guarantee me I can have a store in 3 months. And I was like, it's not even close.
Yeah.
I was like, way to start off on a bad foot is like,
Yeah.
that's the worst promise I could make. I was like, it's 10 to 12 months if everything goes right. He's like, I'm going to buy a dog daycare. I can open in 3 months. I was like, okay, well, call me back in 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't found your dog daycare.
And then we can start our time frame over again. But definitely that expectation.
Awesome. Well, Shaina, this has been awesome. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you for coming to Brentwood and seeing me. I know it's so cool that Twitter exists because like I just saw a post from you. I'm like, yes, come to the studio. Like we'll just get to meet and talk about franchising and talk about your business. So
And you
for
didn't
coming
have
out.
to leave the house?
And I didn't live. Yeah, that's why we built this here
I love
so that
it.
I can just.
That is so cool.
It's just convenient. It's like, come on over.
Yeah, I really appreciate it and always good to see you.
Awesome.